And what you begin to realize, you got all these people flipping houses. It's everyday people just like us that's getting into the real estate game to flip houses because they trying to eat. They trying to make money, and they told that this is the stream of revenue. But you don't understand that you flipping the house is gentrifying our neighborhood.
Yeah.
You buying a family home that I should be moving me and my 4 kids into. You just bought that home from that, like, for a little bit more than I didn't have the money right away, but you got investors, so you had the money right away. So you got that home, and then you just put some bells and whistles on the house, raised the price up 200,000, and then sold it to somebody else. So now
Yep.
it's super out of my range. You know what I mean? And so you got a BMW. And you on social media, friends with my friends, talking about, yeah, flip the house. Fool, you gentrifying the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
we feel like we systematically being displaced, but we being systematically removed by us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
All right, what's up, y'all? Got a special guest in the house with me. GaKnew Roxwel. He is artist, poetry slam champion, public speaker, educator. He has appeared on Def Poetry Jam, the HBO documentary Foster, and is now a social worker, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I was doing so. Well, I'm still on contract, but I'm not doing it full time anymore. But yeah,
Gotcha.
still,
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about the transition, because that was kind of interesting to me, the transition from rapping to working with kids and things like that. So we'll definitely get back to that. So I'm a music kind of guy. So before I even read anything, or visited any of the socials or anything like that, I turned the music on to kind of just see if I can get a story like that. You know what I mean? And one thing that kind of caught me by surprise is that you're from LA, correct?
Yeah.
You know, your music style didn't have that West Coast kind of bop kind of sound. And It kind of threw me off when I heard it. And then, because the first song I heard was a song that you have called 1994.
Oh, yeah.
One of the first things I heard in there was you mentioned Nas. So I'm like, okay, he's definitely from up north or New York or something like that.
Oh, no.
Turns out you're from LA. So that what kind of influenced your sound? Because like I said, it's not that typical West Coast kind of sound.
I mean, I'm just a hip hop head. Like I grew. I mean, you can see the gray, so it ain't no hiding that. Yeah, like me growing up on hip hop, like, you know, as a small kid, like ever since Rapper's Delight came onto the radio, I was listening to hip hop. You know what I mean? So, and I feel like the East Coast, of course, had a larger impact on hip hop. And because I was listening to it at that early age, I think it just influenced me like that. You know what I mean? So, like, I definitely, I mean, you know, the West Coast is around me, and I grew up all throughout South Central. So, of course, that's around me. But what people perceive to be the West Coast sound is just a sound. Like, if you was in LA and you was in the hip hop scene, you would see that, like, it's only a small fraction. It's only really gangsters that rap like the Snoop sound. You know what I mean? Like, it's so many cats out here from when I was growing up. That's just everyday dudes. That's more like that kind of East Coast sound, or like our own sound, but it's not the typical West Coast sound that you hear. It might be more like Souls of Mischief type of. Are you familiar with that? Like Souls of Mischief and Hieroglyphics, more like that kind of thing going on.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the first things I also noticed while listening, I'm like, all right, So you really like storyteller, like you really rap, like you're not playing around. Like, have you ever you ever done any like battle rapping?
Oh yeah, I mean that's how I grew up. Like,
Oh yeah,
um,
okay.
like I
I
said,
can
as a
hear that.
teenager, you said, huh?
I can hear that.
Oh, word. Yeah. I mean, as a teenager, first rapping, that's on the schoolyard. It's just like bagging on each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's automatic that battle rapping, and then on the bus on the way home, then we end up all the homies go to another school and battle the rappers that's at the other high school. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So definitely with some of that in there. Um, I was gonna something else I was gonna ask you about. So yeah, like I said, you really like rap, like you're not playing around with it. And so my thing is, how did you decide like, okay, I got to do something like bigger than rap? Like I'm gonna take what I do here and transition it to something else.
I mean, it was always that too. Like um, I think just my family upbringing and the way my mom raised me was always in touch with community. Like my mom is like heart of gold type person. You know what I mean? So she's always helping the people that's around her, people in need, whether it be a stranger, we just passing down the street. So I feel like that was ingrained in me, like just growing up like that. And then I mean, like when I was growing up, we was big on knowing our history. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so just knowing that, I've always had that social component to me. And I'm just a person about action and not just word. So if you're going to talk about it, be about it, right? So you can't talk about being socially conscious and and you're not doing nothing in the community to help the community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they just go hand in hand for me.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Um, Something else that, man, it's like I said, I've been listening like all week. So I got
Oh,
little
dang.
things.
Right.
Yeah, I got
That's
little
what's
things
up.
that I'm picking out, and I'm like, I gotta ask you about it. So I heard Entrapment,
Oh, word.
which turns out to be one of my favorite tracks, actually.
Word. That's what's
Yeah,
up.
and because I had to listen to it, I listened to it 3 times, like in a row, because
Right.
the first time I'm like, oh, this is a love story, and I'm listening, and then halfway through it, I was like, hold on, I'm hearing
That's
other
what's
stuff.
up.
And at the end, you confirm, like, okay, this is about hip hop.
Right.
But also in that, I guess it kind of leads me to like, do you feel like hip hop is being used against our culture? Like used
Yeah.
against us in our own culture?
Um, I do. I feel like, I mean, I think that song kind of tell like the whole the
Yeah.
story, like my perspective on it. I feel like hip hop has been taken away from us. And it's been taken away from us and it's been kind of like transformed into like crack. You know what I mean? Like how they starved us out. They made it to where we couldn't get the jobs and then gave us crack, like, but we could sell this in order to feed our families. And I feel like that's kind of what the music has become. Like, um, it's like people creating detrimental, like music full of detrimental messages, and they pushing that just as a means for them to get by, no matter what impact it's having on our community.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, I feel like that's problematic. It's one thing to like, yeah, you telling your story, but it's only a few people that's like they really they telling their story, but they not bragging about it. And it's like um how we get past this or beyond this or giving you some food for thought. But then there's so many other people that's just like, yeah, that's what I do. And I'm about the business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you don't
Glor-
want this smoke. I'm killing everybody. And like,
yeah.
you the illest if you killing everybody. Like, come on, man.
Yeah. Glorifying it, like making it something that the kid's gonna want. Like,
Well, what I saw is a teacher. because once my students they learned that I rap, and so they come to me, they want to trade bars or whatever. I know these kids. I see them every day in my class. I know who they scared of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then when they rapping, they killing everything, right? They selling packages, and come on, man, you ain't selling dope. You ain't killing nobody. But they think that that's what being a rapper is. They think that that's synonymous. You know what I mean? So if I'm a rap, then that's what I have to talk about. I'm like, nah, bro. Like, you talk about you and what you know. You got jokes. You be bagging on the homies. Make songs about bagging on the homies. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Or
Real to you.
You hooping. Talk about hooping. Like, back in the day when we was rapping, we made up stories about just getting from school to home and the mischief that we would get into. Rap about that. Like, it don't have to all be positive, but don't make up this like you super thug either.
Yeah.
It's a lot of other stories to tell in between, like Mr. Super Righteous and the dude that's like super thug.
Right now it seems like the industry is kind of making it to where there's two genres. There's the, like you said, the super thug rap, drill rap, and there's no in between when it comes to hip hop. It just goes straight to like genreless, like for example, like Lil Uzi. He made like a rock album, and they they framed it as like he was the #1 hip hop artist. And I listened to it. His album was like a punk rock album.
Right. And he say that, right.
Or it's like drill music. There's no, I feel like there are some people trying to bring that back, but as far as the ones that's getting pushed, there's no, they're like trying to eliminate hip hop, it seems like.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you got maybe J. Cole and Kendrick in the middle, but it's not really but like, I don't know. I think a lot of people might hate me for what I'm about to say, or not hate me, but just hate on me for what I'm about to say. But the community got to take ownership of that. You know what I mean? It's whatever we support is what they gonna sell. You know what I mean? If your product sell, you're gonna get it in Target. If your product don't sell, Target don't want it on their shelf. And that's just what the music industry is. You know what I mean? Like, my music is accessible. You was able to get to it and listen to it and whatever. But that's not on average what you're gonna hear when you pull up to the high school in the morning. When I was teaching, people would be pulling up with their kids, bumping the most ratchet music with your kids in the car, bro, dropping them off at school. You know what I mean? Like, we promoting that ourselves. And a lot of drill rappers and trap rappers, they not even signed artists, bro. Like, all of the kids, what they be talking about in the classroom, they wasn't listening to major artists. They was introducing me to artists they done found on YouTube, or artists they on what's the other thing, SoundCloud or something like that. They ain't even signed artists. It's just ratchet, like, you know what I mean? It's trapping, killing everybody.
Beat on and telling a story about what crime they committed.
Yeah, you know what I mean? But on the low, when I play on my stuff, it's like, oh, like, can I curse on here?
Yeah.
All right, yeah, they be like, oh, we fuck with you, like what's up with, you know what I mean? Like, they still listen to what I'm doing too. It's not being offered, but it appears that only thing that's selling is trapping and killing, and you know what I mean? And we pushing that, we buying that, we bumping it in our cars, we making it look like that's the thing to do. So that's the money is gonna be behind.
Yeah, that's true. And you spoke a little bit about how a lot of that stuff is not even off major labels. Have you ever wanted to be on a major label, or have you been on a major?
A long time ago, I met with Def Jam or whatever. I think I was too bullheaded at the time. Like, just I'm very much like, I want to rap about what I want to rap about. And I'm from the era of like native tongue, you know what I mean? And like, I mean, you hear it in my music. Like I'm not really rapping about what everybody rapping about. And at the time when I was talking to labels, is when like Bad Boy was popping. So the message I got was they wanted something more like Puffy.
Yeah, they're rapping about jewels.
Yeah, and at that time Kanye didn't exist, right? So I couldn't see that lane. Like I couldn't see the vision of giving them what they wanted and still doing what people would consider backpack rap. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, I was like, my manager I had at the time was like, well, I'm starting the label. You should just come be on my label. I was like, say no more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, I'm gonna be on your label and we just gonna do it like that. But he wasn't really business savvy. And so we spent like 5-6 years trying to do his independent thing
Yeah.
for him to just be like, you know what, I'm not doing this no more. And it was kind of just project just left dead in the water, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and that's when I moved into the poetry scene from there because by that point, like hip hop was completely gone. Like Jay-Z was running everything and everybody had to be a D-boy. And that's one my lane.
Yeah. What made me ask about the major label, outside of us talking about it a little bit, was when I was listening, I could kind of hear like it's some stuff behind this a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it didn't sound like you was recording this in a closet. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, word.
Yeah, like it. What it sounded like was something that was ready to. I knew it wasn't on the major because I just read the credits, but it sounded like something that was ready to be on the major. You know what I mean? Like
Word. Thanks, man.
stuff, you know what I mean? So I can't remember exactly the song, but I did hear what I call some dad trauma in the songs. You know what I mean? And I can kind of relate to some of that as far
Probably
as
father figure, maybe. It was
I
like a
heard
slower
figure.
song.
The one I heard, the one that I'm thinking about it was on Mannequin. Was it Mannequin
People. Right. All right.
That album?
Yeah.
It was a song on there, and I can't remember the name of because I kind of was just letting it play through.
Yeah. I think I know what song you're talking about though.
Yeah, and
When the Love Is Gone.
That's what it's called.
I think so.
The lyrics were. It was about basically like your dad wasn't there, and what you're trying to kind of figure out how to be a dad, even though you didn't have a dad around all the time.
Oh, right. I think that was actually father. I think that was a more recent song or whatever. Maybe it might be blurring, or man, I don't know. Maybe
I
the
was hearing
message
it
came
all.
across in a different song.
Yeah. But I know. Okay, so for me, actually, on one of my episodes on one of my podcasts that I do, just me, like not an interview, I kind of was talking about how, like I said, I have 4 kids, and when I started having kids, I'm there for all my kids, and it just kind of triggered me in a way like, this ain't crazy hard. I mean, this is, it's tough, of course, like being in it, but I'm like, being here ain't like,
right.
It actually made me and my dad, we actually had like a whole discussion because when I made my podcast, he heard it. He's like, took offense to it. You know what I'm saying? To the point of like me having to break it down to him like, man, look, what I'm saying is being here is like not being here is out of the question. Like I can't imagine not being here for my kids.
Right.
But I say all that just to ask you, what did being a dad do for you as far as how you thought about, like, did y'all become cooler later or?
Nah, I actually haven't talked to that dude in like probably 24 years or something like that. Like, and even even talking to him at that point was like I've never had a relationship with him. Like it's kind of a long, crazy story, but yeah, all when I was growing up, I didn't have a relationship with him. Then once I got in my 20s, like early 20s, he and my mom got back together. And by this time she had moved to like Virginia, so she was all the way on the other side of the country. And they had their thing going, whatever. He moved out there to stay with her. I went out there to visit her, and so he and I had an interaction that didn't go well, and then that was the end of it. So,
oh yeah, see, because I mean, the way I kind of process it now, I'm like, at this point, with me and my dad both being adults, I'm like, now I'm just like, I can talk to him now. When I was young, I was so angry. Like when I was young, like I had it like, because I pretty much grew up with my brother's dad. He has a different dad, and that's who even now, that's who I talk to when it comes to like on some dad stuff. I want to,
right,
you know,
right.
But yeah, with my actual dad, like I'm just now kind of getting to a point where we can talk, and and we don't talk so often, but I can send him a text, happy birthday. You know what I mean?
That's what's up, right?
Yeah. So it's just that.
That's a beautiful thing. You know what I mean? It's funny for me. It was the opposite. I never had anger towards him as a kid growing up. Just all I knew was my mom. You know what I mean? So, and most of my friends didn't have dads. So, in my mind, it wasn't like this thing missing because I didn't know what it was in the first place. Yeah, my mom didn't talk about him much, so I didn't really hold no resentment or no anger or nothing. I was moving on with life. It wasn't until, like I said, when I went out there to visit, and then he expected this. My respect was like a mutual respect. Like you, another man. By this time, I'm a grown man, so like I'm meeting you as another grown man. It's that same respect is mutual. But he expected for me to like have him on a pedestal, like he was above me. Like that the average man would be like, I raised you, you my son, you always on the son level. But for me, I didn't see it that way because like you know what I mean? Like I'm my dad. Like I raised me as the man in my life. Yeah, so we bumped heads on that, and he blew up on some like super disrespectful to where, and even before it blew up, like I saw him flirting with the neighbor. Like I'm like, bro, like you living in my mama house, flirting with her neighbor. Like it was just like a lot of little disrespectful stuff to where that like lowered my respect for him and the way I view him. That affected that or whatever. And I still ain't angry today. I just know he ain't somebody I fuck with. Like,
yeah, I feel that. So back to the music a little bit. As far as like, I went on some of your socials, and I saw you had a website, you know what I mean, that had your actual CD that you just put out this album, and you have the physical CD. And I just found that interesting because, everything is like streaming, like Spotify, Apple Music, all of that. But what I do know is it's basically like pennies.
Paid not even pennies, fractions of pennies.
Yeah. So like, as far as that, how can you live off of like that? You know what I mean? Like, I know you can't live off of a fraction of pennies, but also you don't even depend on the music to
like I don't. I mean I would like to, I wish I could, but I'm also a visual artist, so right now I do a lot of animation. So that's been feeding me. But the reason that I did the CDs is to be able to, like, when I do shows, like sell the CDs at the shows type of thing. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, you can't eat off streams. So I don't know what they talking about, all this other.
So you still performing and everything then?
Yeah, not as much as I used to because I got the kids and all that stuff. So it usually gotta be a pain situation for me to go out and perform.
Yeah.
But Yeah.
That's what's up. So okay, so now, you have we talked a little bit about you kind of getting into the social work. So you go from rapping to social work, and that just seems worlds apart. Like,
right,
and
right.
you spoke on it a little bit about, as far as how you were raised was kind of just to be about the community and everything like that. But when did was there something that made you say, okay, this is what I want to do? Like,
Yeah, I think it just slowly happened. Like well, like I said before, I kind of transitioned from hip hop into like the spoken word scene, just because what I found, well, at the time, like the producer that I was working with was trying to dictate the music, and basically they wanted to go like the Puffy route too, right? Like make the club songs and all of that. And that's just not, like I said, I was bullheaded. That's not what I wanted to do. Like I'm not here to make club hits, right? Like so and as I'm older, I get the way like one's hand scratches the other. But when I was young, I wasn't off that. So I didn't have a producer no more. So I ended up going to open mics, poetry open mics, and then people actually listening to what you spitting. Like they appreciate what you're talking about. And then they had the poetry slams, which was like battles with my writtens. Like it's not even battling and freestyling no more. I get to battle with my writtens. Like, come on. So yeah, I just kind of I went hard on that for a minute, and the poetry scene kind of took over. And then I met this lady, El Rivera, on the poetry scene. She's a elder poet. She had this program, Mentorship 2000, where she would like invite poets to come with her to the juvenile halls and like talk with the kids at the juvenile hall, do a group council session with them. So like you talk about it, be about it. So I went with her to the juvenile hall. And then with talking with the kids at the juvenile hall was just really eye opening and like satisfying in the sense that um my family, like my cousins and all that, it was into stuff, dope dealing, gang banging. It's the community I grew up in. But I was younger than all of them. And I saw the way that their lives went, which is partly why I chose to not go in that direction. But I could never give them like words of wisdom when I'm younger than them. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So this opportunity to speak with the kids at the juvenile hall was an opportunity to like speaking to my cousins in a sense, like being able to get these youngsters like, yo, you don't want to do this or that, or just listening to them, hearing them out. So I started going to that kind of on a regular basis, to where then I'm getting my own ideas like, man, I want to open a community center. You know what I mean? Like to
yeah,
kind of do the same things that I'm doing at this juvenile hall. And that built into my homegirl at the time. She was going to help me with the community center idea. Her mom was an attorney, worked for Children's Law Center, which they have investigators that go out and speak with the foster youth that the 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 law firm represents all the foster youth in Southern California. So they needed investigators that'll go out and interview the kids, and they needed people that could really relate to them to get them to open up and talk, because they don't really like talking to a lot of social workers. They don't trust them.
yeah.
So she convinced me to apply to work there, and that's kind of how it all
Kicked
just
off.
rolled into that, to where then I started working there, and then it really blew up, because then it's not just speculation. You know what I mean? As artists in the community, we speculating on what's going on in the systems, in the school system, in the juvenile justice system, or the foster care system. It's all speculation. But when I start working in the system and really seeing like the dynamics of what's going on, the part the community has to play, as well as the part that people that work in the system have to play, um, it was just eye opening. And so it just kind of went from there.
So just now, you were speaking on the system. So what exactly is the system?
So it's kind of a loaded question because I'm actually about to release a song pretty soon called The System, where I'm kind of like breaking it down. But it's all types of systems, right? But like I think in general, when our community says the system, we talking about like powers that be, right? Like the controls on our life. So whether it be like the educational system, like I said before, but honestly, in studying psychology, because also working this job kind of sent me back to school, right? Because everything is just so interesting to me, and it was like an opportunity to try to help my community. So I started studying psychology, and just what I see in that sociology, psychology, it's really the way that our minds function, and then collectively the way our minds function. Even boiling down to we all got prejudice. Like that's we'll call it our intuition, or it's the way that we survive in life. If I can't prejudge at some point I got to be able to prejudge situations so I can know if it's safe or if it's not safe, if it's cool to eat, if it's not cool to eat. So that's a very like essential part of being any living being, but humans, as we're talking about right now. But along with that, sometimes we make wrong assumptions. Um, but nevertheless, that's how we survive in life. So I think the system is really collectively um, all those things at play, all our prejudices at play, whether it be us in a community or whether it be, let's just say, the social worker. The social worker coming to the home, already the social worker has a judgment on what they're about to walk into because they spend every day, every work day, they spend going into some home. So they feel like they know the story you about to tell even before you tell it because they heard it all before. But then us in the community, it's a government worker coming to the house, I already know what they own.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We
Yeah.
don't know this person. We ain't had a conversation, but I know what they own. If
Yeah.
I get pulled over by the police, I know what they own.
Yeah.
They own some racist, but I know what they own. I don't. I think
Yeah.
I do, but I don't. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had guns pulled on me by cops unwarranted, me doing nothing but just walking out of my building. And I've also been pulled over by. I remember I was like 17. I have a driver's license. I had no business driving. My mom had left the state, so I'm doing what I got to do. I got pulled over by the police, and they sweated me or whatever, but they let me go too. He didn't give me no ticket. He didn't arrest me. I just told him my situation. He was like, "Look, man, you need to get a license. Like you can't be driving without a license. I don't want to see you driving around here no more or whatever." But shit, that was cool for me because I didn't have no job or nothing. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he didn't have to be that cool. So I've been in situations where I've met cool cops. I've been in situations where I met asshole cops. They ain't all the same, but human nature kind of have us like prejudging these situations,
Yeah.
and sometimes we act out of our prejudgment rather than like really letting the situation unfold and taking each situation for what it is. So um, that in itself is a system, right? Because all day long we're interacting with different people. Like I'm in the library right now. I'm interacting with the lady, and one of them is keeping an eye out for like, am I in a room too long? Am I supposed to be in there? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
so I know that was a long-winded answer.
Nah,
I don't
but
even know if I answered.
yeah, I mean, because when I hear the system, it's kind of I was on the other side of it as far as like you said, the powers that be. That's man, I speak on that so much. I just spoke
Right.
on one of my most recent podcasts about how the middle class is kind of being like wiped out in a way.
Yeah.
Like you know,
systematically.
yeah, like they making where middle class is like unaffordable, so it's gonna be you rich or you poor. Like I was kind of talking about that, and that's another kind of system that they're
100%. The one thing that to point out about the system though is like back to like the social work thing, right? Like the reality is like I was working in social work. So to the outside person, I'm part of the system, right? Like, so you lump me in with the whole whatever your perception of the system is. But really, I live right next door to you, and really, I'm more from the community than I am whatever you perceive the system to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so with all of that, we all compose the system. The dude that it's a cop that lived like 3 houses down from me. My neighbor is a cop. Like, bro is the system. Like you know what I mean? Like low key, but it's all his individual perception. And all of our individual perceptions collectively make up this machine that we perceive to be the system. So like even when we talking about gentrification, it feel foul, you know what I mean? Like we being displaced. They, especially LA, man, nothing is affordable in LA right now. But then when it comes down to it, it was a point in time a while ago, the person I was dating, she was into real estate or whatever, and it had me like learning that whole world, right? And so we going to conferences where dude is like pitching to us to become like wholesalers and like get into the real estate business. And what you begin to realize, you got all these people flipping houses. It's everyday people just like us that's getting into the real estate game to flip houses because they trying to eat. They trying to make money, and they told that this is. And what you begin to realize, you got all these people flipping houses. It's everyday people just like us that's getting into the real estate game to flip houses because they trying to eat. They trying to make money, and they told that this is the stream of revenue. But you don't understand that you flipping the house is gentrifying our neighborhood.
Yeah.
You buying a family home that I should be moving me and my 4 kids into. You just bought that home from that, like for a little bit more than I didn't have the money right away, but you got investors, so you had the money right away. So you got that home, and then you just put some bells and whistles on the house, raised the price up 200,000, and then sold it to somebody else. So now it's super out of my range. You know what I mean? And so you got a BMW, and you on social media, friends with my friends, talking about, yeah, flip the house. Fool, you gentrifying the neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we feel like we systematically being displaced, but we being systematically removed by us.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not some mystical energy out there that is the system, but if anything, capitalism is the system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just in itself, they got us so individualized that it's me over everybody. You know what I mean?
Man.
Like that me against the world, it's running rampant. That I don't give a fuck is running rampant. But that whole mentality of me against everybody, I don't give a fuck, is what's destroying us. Like, we don't care about each other, so we're not taking care of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking, man, that's exactly that's exactly what I recognize it to be. Like,
right.
Yeah. It's crazy how that go, because like you said, it's not a secret. They not hiding it. Like, it's the plan and it's happening.
Right. They like, hey, come and get yours.
Yeah.
If you willing to, like, figuratively, if you willing to sell crack, come get these packages.
Yeah.
And that's what life is. So if you willing to come flip this house, come get these houses. You know what I mean? Like, what if you willing to say nobody else in the community matters except for who in your household, come get this work.
Yeah.
That's America.
That's what and that's what it's turned into. Well, that's what it is, actually.
Yeah. This is what it's been. Like,
yeah. Well, look, man, I appreciate you for taking some time speaking. You know what I mean? Like I said, I've listened to your music all week.
Word.
I feel like
Appreciate that.
I got a very fast version of like I saw your growth very fast. In a week, I saw it go from what you was doing in 08 to what you put out this year. So
word.
I definitely see the skill was always there, but I see the difference in messaging. Like,
word.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that part of it.
Word.
So, well, yeah, man. I'll definitely be on the lookout for your new stuff. Like you said, you got something coming out soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me on here.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Appreciate it.
All right. Peace.
Peace out.